Welcome to Light Over Heat with Professor David Yamani. This is my second video from the National African American Gun Association National Convention. Today I want to focus on President Phil Smith's vision for the organization. So as I mentioned in last week's video, NAAGA is the brainchild of President Philip Smith. And so the things that he had to say, both at his presidential address at the presidential gala on Friday and also in his morning remarks to the membership on Saturday, are really important to understanding the kind of vision, but also the expected future of the organization. And this organization is only 8 years old, which is pretty young in the broad picture of both African American gun ownership and gun culture in America. So some of this is very dynamic and unfolding in real time. So the theme of the first National Convention was, "It's a family affair." And this was stressed during the convention in terms of having a family night at the aquarium, a family range day. There was a kids zone available during the sessions on Saturday. And I think that this is both reflective of Philip Smith's vision for the role of NAAGA in the African American community, but even more so, sort of stressing that it is a community organization and not just an individual or even a family organization. And I think this was reflected in the invitation to an African drumming and dance group to perform as entertainment at the start of his presidential gala on Friday. So I captured a little bit of video of that, which I hope you'll enjoy. A related theme that was in sort of Phil Smith's presentations, but also I think in the convention overall and in the structure of NAAGA really, is the kind of liminal space that Black gun owners occupy in American society today. So on the one hand, and this was part of the impetus for the founding of the organization, is that African Americans are not always welcome in gun space or in the gun culture more broadly. But also African American gun owners are not always embraced by the African American community itself. And so Black gun owners have to negotiate in this liminal space between these two, which is something I can appreciate as a liberal gun owner, negotiating between two spaces that don't always get along. So I saw this negotiation in a couple of ways. On the one hand, President Smith really emphasized the fact that the African American gun owning community should support those companies within the gun industry that support NAAGA, and he encouraged people to consider the guns they owned, the guns they carry, in relation to the gun companies that were present in the exhibit hall, who were sponsors of the NAAGA National Convention. And there were some sort of noticeable presences in that exhibit hall and also some notable absences, as I saw in my walkthrough. All right, so let's check out the exhibit hall here at the NAAGA National Convention. In his presidential keynote last night, Phil Smith made a strong point about supporting the businesses that are here supporting NAAGA, and particularly asked people what guns they owned and asked them if they own Smith & Wesson firearms, if they own Daniel Defense firearms. Staccato is also here, as well as Sig Sauer. So those are, and Canik, Canik, I was told, has been a big supporter of the conference. Still early here on Saturday morning, so it hasn't gotten real crowded yet, but you see those major firearms manufacturers, as well as some smaller companies here supporting NAAGA in their efforts. Gun Owners of America are here. The NSSF is here. USCCA is here, as well as some accessory companies. See Hollow Sun, Shadow Systems, and some smaller groups like Hoodneck, which I can't say I'm familiar with, but probably learn more about. So it's not at the level of the NRA, but of course NAAGA is not at the level of the NRA. But again, President Phil Smith really made a strong point to the members in his presidential address to get out and support the vendors who are here supporting NAAGA. And in fact, I see President Phil Smith right over here chatting up some of the folks who are here at the event, and no doubt thanking them for their support. On the other side of that liminal space is negotiating an African American community, which, for good reasons, has been concerned about the role and the presence of guns in their community. And so NAAGA also has attempted to do some outreach to sort of non-gun aspects of the African American community. And before his remarks on Saturday morning, we were treated to a performance by the Atlanta Drum Academy, which is obviously a non-gun organization and maybe not even an organization that's comfortable being in a gun space, but having them come in and perform was a way of showing to them and perhaps to other sort of non-gun aspects of the African American community that Black gun ownership is normal. And I'd say the last theme that was present in both Philip Smith's presidential address on Friday, as well as in his morning remarks on Saturday, was his desire for NAAGA to have more of a political presence. It already, as a 501c4 organization, is able to engage in sort of social issues and try to address the issue of social injustices. But he seemed really to be signaling strongly that he felt the future of NAAGA was going to have to entail some sort of more formal political involvement, including perhaps even developing a lobbying aspect, right? He really feels that there are elements of Black communities that are under threat in the current political sphere, and really wants NAAGA to have a role in trying to address that. This is going to be challenging, as he recognized, not just financially, but in terms of figuring out what sort of political voice NAAGA can have that won't simply be partisan, because as many people recognized, African Americans predominantly vote Democratic, but there are many African American Republicans, there are African American libertarians, there are African American socialists, and sort of across the political spectrum. And how does an organization like NAAGA sort of recognize that sort of political diversity at the same time? It wants to have a political voice. That's something I'll be watching for in terms of the development of NAAGA going forward. Again, my time here was brief. I didn't see hardly any of everything that went on at this national convention. I'm looking forward to the next national convention, which may be in 2 or even 3 years from now, given how much time and energy it takes for a volunteer-based organization to put these things together. But I hope you've enjoyed a little peek into what I saw, and I welcome your thoughts on these same issues from your own perspectives. As always, like and share this video if it's brought you some value so that I can reach new audiences who may also benefit from seeing it. Take 53. Welcome to Light Over Heat with Professor David Yamani. This is my second video from the National African American Gun Association's National Convention in Atlanta. Today I want to talk about Phil Smith's vision for the organization. Take 58. Welcome to Light Over Heat with Professor. Take 72.